Hi you guys, this is Jamie with Whatever's Clever Boutique, and today we're going to make this super easy yet super dimensional and fun true crime junkie tumbler with a glitter drip. Everything that I used in this tutorial will be listed and linked in the description box below, as well as some coupon codes. I will also have my website at the end for you to be able to shop any of my tumblers. But let's go ahead and get started. So I have a 24-ounce prep plump from Tipsy Magnolia, Skin of a Killer glitter from KSRESIN, and this full tumbler wrap that is actually transparent that is from Gracefully Created. Now we're going to start by glittering our tumbler, so I'm going to go ahead and apply a thin coat of epoxy all over that tumbler, and then we're going to go ahead and apply that Skin of a Killer glitter. Again, this glitter is from KSRESIN, and I love this because there's actually little shards. Looking up close here, you can kind of see that there's imperfect little shard pieces, and it just adds so much to the glitter itself, and the end result is just gorgeous. So we're going to just put this all over the tumbler. Once we have it all glittered, we're going to tap off that excess, and we're just going to roll it up in some parchment paper to be sure that all those little shard pieces are completely flat, to make our epoxying a lot easier and potentially done in just 2 coats. So now we're going to go in with 2 coats of epoxy, and we want the tumbler to be completely smooth. So 2 coats is good here. If you have any shards, I would just sand those down and then apply another coat. Now we're going to go ahead and apply that wrap. These are super easy to use. It's just like a sheet of vinyl, and we're just going to go ahead and make sure it's all lined up on the tumbler before we remove a little bit of that backing to then use our hinge method to apply our wrap. Now that we have the wrap all laid down, I'm going to go ahead and pull that excess on the bottom so that it's really tight, so that it makes our cutting that off a lot easier and you don't have any buckling or anything like that that's going to cause you a little bit of a headache. Now, for some reason, this wrap doesn't line up entirely. The lines are a little bit bigger on one side for the caution tape. Some people this may not bug. If it doesn't bug you, don't worry about it. But I wanted it to look like the tape wrapped entirely around the tumbler. So I just kind of cut some of that off on that upper and lower tape. The middle one lined up perfectly. But as you can see here, I'm just cutting off a little bit of that excess to make it look like the tape was all seamless around the tumbler. Then we're just going to go ahead and take our X-Acto knife and trim off that excess on the bottom. Now I'm going to take my True Crime Junkie decal. This is actually from BAMP Custom Creations. And I'm just going to apply that right to the front side. I use the front as a side where the caution tape crosses one another. You can use whatever part of the wrap you would like. That's just the side that I chose. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make my glitter booty. You know that I love to do this on pretty much every tumbler, but we're gonna go ahead and use Rudolph glitter. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put that in that outer ring and go ahead and cure it for about 90 seconds. Once that's all cured, we're gonna go ahead and take our white UV resin, and this is just gonna basically act as a base for the white glitter we're gonna use in the center cavity. This is just saving me from having to paint the center and wait for it to dry. We're gonna go ahead and cure that for about 90 seconds before we go in with our Skin of a Killer glitter. And I also added a little bit of the Shattered Opal. This is that chunky piece that's in Skin of a Killer. We're just gonna add more of it here to the booty. So I go ahead and mix those two glitters with a little bit of our UV resin, just like we did the Rudolph glitter for the outer rim. And we're just gonna put that in our center cavity. And we're gonna take our lighter to pop any of those bubbles that may have occurred in our aggressive stirring, to then go in and cure that for 90 seconds. Now I have these sticker cals also from Banff Custom Creations, and I'm just going to take one of those blood splatter sticker cals and we're going to apply that to the center cavity. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my X-Acto knife and just go ahead and cut that excess that goes past our center cavity ring and cut that off. Once we get that done, we're going to take our logo tag and we're going to go ahead and just put that with a little dollop of our UV resin on the center cavity. Now this is from Mizzy Doodles and it's actually a colored acrylic tag, but I will say, while it looks cool, you really can't read the company name that's in the center. So in hindsight, I wish I would have used the silver or the gold that I have, but it still looks good. It almost just kind of looks like a red dot in the center, which is fine. And if you look up close, you do see the name, but it's just not as apparent as our silver or gold. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply just another coat of the plain UV resin to seal all of that good stuff in. We're going to go ahead and cure that for about 3 minutes before we go in with our next coat of epoxy. In this coat, I'm going to add a little bit of our Netflix and Chill from Peachy Olive Glitters, and to do so, I just apply a thin coat of epoxy to the tumbler, which I have already done, and then I'm going to take the remaining epoxy and mix a little bit of that glitter in, and I'm just going to take my gloved finger and I'm just going to apply that into the bare spots. By bare spots, I mean the spots that have more white, not necessarily the painter's tape or the hands. I'm just going to go ahead and sporadically apply this to my liking. You can totally skip this step if you don't want to. I just felt like it added a bit more dimension to the full wrap. So again, you can do whatever you'd like, but I personally like the way that it added a bit more to the tumbler. Once that coat is all cured, we're going to go ahead and do our drip. So I'm going to go ahead and sand that rim really good just so that our drip has something to hold on to. And I'm going to take these dispersion colors from CC DIY to go ahead and mix in with our KS Resin epoxy. We are going to use the regular set here, but I mixed some of that red in with the epoxy, and then we're just going to take a little bit of the granite color to put that in to darken up that red a bit to have more of that blood type look. Glitter we're going to use for this strip is Cereal from KSRESIN, and it just matched perfectly with that kind of blood drip that's already in the wrap itself. But here is kind of the sit and wait game with the epoxy. As you can see here, this was about after 20 minutes. The glitter is starting to thicken a bit, but it's surely not where I need it to be. But I would say after about 45 minutes, my epoxy was ready. It was nice and thick, but it wasn't starting to completely harden yet. It's kind of a gamble here. It does take some getting used to. You'll probably have quite a few failed drips before you actually get a feel for what you want your epoxy to be at when you go for this step. Now I'm just going to go ahead and apply some of that epoxy to the top rim of the tumbler. Now my epoxy is thick enough that when it applies to the tumbler, it starts to almost harden right away because the tumbler itself is cold, and it just makes that epoxy start to cure quicker, it almost seems like. So I'm just going to do that all the way around the rim. I'll add a little more epoxy in spots that I want the drips to be a little more prominent. And this is just a personal preference here as well. You can have as long a drips as you'd like or as short a drips. I prefer more short drips, but I'm gonna go in then with my lighter just to pop any of the bubbles that are in the drip themselves. And before your epoxy cures, you're gonna take that glitter, and I just did this right after I applied the drip. Again, my epoxy was pretty thick, so I didn't have to worry too much about the drip itself moving, but I just apply that glitter all over, being sure to hold my tumbler a little more upright to get the underside of that drip as well. Then I'm just going to go ahead and tap off as much excess as I can, and then we're going to go ahead and let that cure. Now before we apply our two more final coats of epoxy, I'm going to brush off that tumbler of any excess, and then our tumbler is done. So again, this is a super easy way to create a super dimensional yet fun tumbler with these wraps. I will see if I can't find them on her website and link them for you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I really love how this turned out. I hope you guys were able to gain some inspiration here with this tumbler. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I will see you guys again soon. Thank you.